Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about Big Fish and Begonia.
Mm-hmm.
But before all that, we were talking about a lot of stuff. We were talking about some weird trends that came up in reality and life, and did some riddles and just had some really weird discussions really kind of happen in the discussion. If you want to catch a part of that wider conversation, patreon.com/featured anime podcast, $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content and more. And now on to the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
Big Fish and Begonia is a movie that came out in July 2016. Producer for it is Beijing Entertainment Pictures and Studio Mir. Those were producers for it, and studio is B&T. It is an original, and the genres for it are adventure, drama, romance, and supernatural, and ran for an hour and 45-ish minutes.
All right.
Yes, that's what I'm going with. Don't ruin it for me. All right. So,
You're good.
It was an interesting movie. It was definitely
Thought provoking.
Yeah, not what I was expecting.
Confusing. No, God, no.
Like,
I was expecting a Studio Ghibli. Like the artwork to me looked very reminiscent of Studio Ghibli.
Really?
At least in the trailer, yeah. And one of the things I really liked about this, surprisingly, wasn't the music, wasn't the voice acting. It was actually the absence of both. I would say there was a few fairly large, in my opinion, stretches of animation where you've got everything there for a conversation to go on, but no conversation is had.
So are you saying you just didn't like that they had a lot going on for them, and then there was like no talking? Like what are you going for?
No. So what I mean is like instead of telling you what was going on, they showed you. And one of the main characters wasn't a fan of talking, at least initially. So like there was gestures, there's like movement, like come on over here, like giving the wave and stuff like that while they were exploring and stuff like that earlier in the movie.
Okay. So you're talking about the beginning, but they had a monologue for that.
Yeah, but like they didn't, when the monologue stopped, it was like another minute and a half before anybody started talking again.
I mean,
I thought it was really cool. I wasn't expecting it.
Okay, I guess that's cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't get that at all. It just I didn't feel like they were showing me anything. They weren't telling me anything through the absence of both. There was actually a fair amount of music in it. The dialogue was there. It just wasn't impactful for me. As far as the animation concerns, you said the trailer and everything like that was very reminiscent of Ghibli. I would honestly have to disagree. Like
that's fine.
Like for me, it felt lacking, and it didn't feel right. You know, the animation just felt very choppy to me. It was also kind of like lackluster for me personally. It feels The King's Avatar, which is another Chinese.
I'm familiar.
Right. Okay. For those who aren't, though, the Chinese animation television series that was really notoriously hard to get a hold of or look at or watch or anything like that. This animation kind of reminds me of that, where it's not that fluid, just feels kind of off. And I understand it's their own particular style. I understand it's their style that they're doing it or whatever, or it's what they dig, whatever it is, or maybe they just didn't have the budget for what they wanted. And that's what I feel. I feel kind of like they didn't care. Like
maybe not about that.
Let me rephrase when I say they didn't care. I'm not talking about the artists. I'm talking about the people that put the money into the movie. Like they should have gone a bit more big budget. That's what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. It makes a little bit of sense. It does. It genuinely does. But like I don't see where the animation was lacking in almost any aspect. It was very unique. It was very consistent in my mind. There's a lot of movements I didn't understand. I'll give you that. But it wasn't so large it took away from the story. It took away from the movie for me. You know?
I mean, I feel like they could have done more with it. Like the background, the scenery and everything like that has this one very unique particular art style for it versus the character animation, and everyone else that's happening is another animation entirely. Like they just kind of slapped it on there because they needed to try and do it. You know, normally it's like, oh, the animation and the story are very kind of like cohesive, in the background and the foreground, like the main people, the characters and everything like that. The animation style is very, very fluid in between the two. And this did not feel fluid at all.
Do you know where you think it didn't really feel fluid? Was it the whole thing, or was it just like...
No, when I was saying the characters, I only meant like first 30 seconds of the movie. Obviously, I didn't mean the characters or the people. Yeah, the characters, everyone, the people, individuals, everyone. Ki,
Was it everyone?
Po, Kun, everyone. The all the other gods, goddesses, everything like that are there. Every single person just felt the animation felt lacking for them.
There was a few that
when
I was questioning.
Everyone, and I don't want you to misconstrue it. I'm not talking about one person in particular. Everyone. And when I say the like the background animation, I mean like the scenery, the sky, the trees, the buildings. Like they put more thought and effort into that and have it be its own unique special art style versus the character animation, which felt like they were lacking on that. Like the art styles, how disconnected they felt.
I get that, but I didn't see it. I saw a beautiful artwork. I saw amazing displays of creativity. I saw wonderful like movement as far as the animals go. Were the people as detailed as I would love them to be? Absolutely not. However, I don't feel like it took away from the movie. You know what I mean?
Well, you were talking about how great and beautiful the artwork was and everything like that. It was like, oh, bro, I did not get that from this. And as far as artwork and style and everything like that's concerned, I like comparing it to Ghibli is not even on the same level at all, in my personal opinion. Like Ghibli has a very unique art style. This was not that art style. This was its own art style in and of itself.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Did you think that they changed animators halfway through when she transitioned into a dolphin, when our main character, what we come to find is our main character, transitions to a dolphin to go to the human world?
Well, that wasn't halfway through. That was like the first few minutes.
Tomato. I only watched 10 minutes, remember?
Right. So the time traveling granddaughter in the movie.
You betcha. No, I figured that was a good 20 minutes in. Maybe it was 5. My time is not accurate a lot of the time.
Right. To answer your question, no, I felt like the animators were the exact same.
I just saw different stuff. I thought more detailed, more. You know what it reminded me of?
Whoa. What do you mean more details? Give me. Maybe you saw something I didn't see. I mean, like I just saw red dolphins. I'm trying
to. Do you remember Anastasia from Sony? Movie way back.
Vaguely.
Well, in Anastasia, they obviously didn't skip on the animators, but the color coordination, the movement of the water, the everything reminded, like it pointed to this movie in my mind. And the waves, the way the water worked, the way the dolphin would fly around, the gracefulness of each animal. You don't think it was graceful?
No.
Wow. Okay. How come? Because I thought it was absolutely blissful.
I harped on it for like 5 minutes already.
Yeah.
Like the animation style was just not there for me. Like I felt like they were lacking. Like the background animation, like the the artwork for like inside the buildings, everything like that looks great. Skies look great. People, the animals that had a lot of movement or that they really wanted to bring to a focal point, not so much.
Wow. I don't think I can convince you because I don't have any solid like, dude, check this out, because you've got plenty of not impressed with this, not impressed with that, not impressed with this. But that's just you.
It's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just you watch the movie.
It's a unique story, right? The animation is like kind of like it just bugged me all the way through, but it's not like, oh, the story was totally horrible. The story was all right. The story was unique. I mean, it had some plot armor in there, obviously, for
the win.
Yeah. But you know, it's not bad. It's not like, oh, it totally ruined the whole movie for me. And like, I understand like the mentality or the viewpoint that I can paint is like, oh, I totally hated the movie. The movie wasn't that bad. Felt long, but it wasn't that bad.
I mean, it was an hour and 40 minutes, or hour 45 roughly.
Yes.
And yeah, it felt every minute of that hour and 45 minutes. It felt like it was long.
Yes.
But I really don't know if it was because of the language. I'm used to having Japanese with American subtitles. This was Chinese with American subtitles.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that for me because I watched it subbed and then I watched it dubbed, and it felt super long both times.
Mm.
For me, it felt long.
That's fair. That's fair. This is something I could probably let, I don't know, one of my siblings watch, and they would really enjoy it, I think, because it's got a decent moral story. And they're more into plot. They're more into plot than they are animation like we are.
Hang on. You glazed over like moral story.
I did.
Okay. Can you unpack that a little bit for me?
Nope, I'm a mover. So the moral story is this whole story is based on, I would probably say, not necessarily ignorance, but immaturity, and the choices we make and how they're affected, and the cruelty of man and how it's treated nature in horrific ways, right? And specifically with the shipmen, the seamen killing the dolphins, capturing and killing the dolphins. And what does our main protagonist look like? A red dolphin. Weird. But they get caught, and a human, which they're not supposed to be in contact with, they're supposed to observe nature and see how good and bad nature itself is, not humans. And a human jumps in, ends up saving her, but in the process dies.
Okay. So
morality is, we no longer care. They're dead. They're gone. Whatever. That's how the movie would have started. You know, it does happen. Morally speaking, that's how the movie started, not figuratively. Or anyway.
Interesting.
The more the movie goes on, the more regret, more adult emotions come through. You get to see our main character grow as an individual into, for lack of a better way to say it, an adult. And the overall story is, as I can guess it, as I can surmise it, a coming of age story, and kind of being in love and, you know, sacrificing everything.
Okay.
I'm
love,
just, and then
right. No, I'm just like you're saying, like, oh, there's a very big moral story about the evilness and everything like that, and you know, dolphin hunting and everything like that. Like it's like, you do know dolphin hunting in China is like very
it's a food source,
right? So,
like, you know, I can't fault people for eating.
I don't like, while we perspective wise may see it as a moral argument, it's like us watching a video or an animation of people like raking in tuna. Like, you don't think of that as a moral story whenever that comes up.
True.
So that, you know, I mean, like, mentally, like, oh, that's what they're doing for them. They're getting their tuna.
Fair enough. Makes sense. I'm not here to critique another culture, just their animation. No,
Obviously.
no, I'm kidding. No, like for me, the animation was rock solid. For you, it wasn't. For me, the plot was the plot or story was something I'd be willing to like move around. I'd be willing to help someone watch or facilitate that, or hell, watch it again. But like a little bit later on, it kind of started confusing me like a lot because I couldn't follow it.
Interesting. All right. Sure. I mean, I felt
You
it.
followed
I found
it flawlessly.
I didn't think the story was that hard to follow, personally.
Okay.
I mean, so basically, at its core, it's a love story and how she wants to repay the kindness of a boy who died saving her, and she ends up paying a portion of her life, half, to revive said boy and make it so that way he can go back to the human world or whatever it is, not realizing that there are other strings attached. At its core, it's also an unrequited love story, in which case Ki is in love with Chun, who paid half her life to try and save a human boy, and also with the repercussions that are going along with it, not understanding the moral side of it, that with every action there is a consequence to said action, no matter how good intentioned it may be.
Equal and opposite reaction. Yep.
So at its core, I feel like this is a love story with an unrequited love story, because it's, Ki ultimately does whatever he can to help, and even grumbles and talks to himself a few times about how he is in love with her and she doesn't even know it.
Sounds par for the course.
Right. So,
I mean, I feel like we had a longer pre-show than the actual show.
Well, I mean, like the movie was, it wasn't that deep. It was very, very kind of shallow for me, right? It didn't hold a lot of substance in, and I feel like I would have a deeper or better appreciation for it, because looking at the ideology and viewpoints of it, I feel like this gets tied into a lot of folklore, mythology, past history for them, because from my perspective and view, that's, from the looks of it, what they are in that world, that they are influencing and creating the world for humans, and also being a driving force. Like at the very beginning, when the woman throws the fabric into the water, they say, "Oh, she created a new sky for the humans."
Yeah, it became a night sky,
right,
with Andromeda and all that stuff.
Right. So I feel like I would have a deeper appreciation for it had we had that kind of information, or had I had a little bit more knowledge about it beforehand. And like the ideology behind, the dolphins and the life. I mean, like, is that just like something that this particular creator chose to go with, or did they more so go with just like their own interpretation of what it's like? I
don't have a good answer for that.
No, I'm just saying, like I would love to know, like, ideally.
I mean, I know they did touch on a lot of different folklores for one, but they also touched on a lot of different figures that were important. For instance, the phoenix, super important.
Right.
I feel like, and it turned out to be her grandmother. When she passed away, she turned into a phoenix. I feel like the tree that her grandfather turned into was like a bonsai tree.
Begonia.
Hence
the name. They even said Begonia.
That makes sense.
So it was the name of the movie. They said the name of the tree. It was a begonia tree, not a bonsai. Begonia.
Jeez. It's only in the title, it's whatever. But I liked the idea that life and death wasn't scary for them. It was natural. It was expected. It was, it was what it was. And then when you look at everything else, in the beginning, they say that they're not gods, but they're also not human. They have abilities beyond human, but less than God. I guess my curiosity comes from They mentioned there was a god. Did he show up anywhere? Did he do anything? Were they the Oni?
So they do mention that, and they said, if I remember correctly, well, what's wrong with us believing in that when the humans believe in us and they can't see us? What's wrong with believing in that in God if we can't see him? Like his keys more argument to Chun, because Chun's like, well, why would you believe in that when you can't see it? And it's a moral argument. I mean, like, you don't always, faith is not always based on what you see, but rather what you believe or feel.
Okay. That's probably deeper than the movie was, to be honest. But
well, no, I'm saying, like, because that was an actual conversation that they had in there. It was a very small part, but I remember it was like, oh, well, that's totally not where I thought they were going to go with that, but that's cool. And they glazed over it and moved right on. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I felt like they had a lot of conversations like that in this. They were like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then they moved on. I was like, well, can we, like, elaborate on that? Maybe a little bit. I would love to know. I would love to know more.
So what I gather is while you watched it, you wanted more information, more specific information, and less general information. You don't need to know what Susie down the road's doing when you're trying to figure out what's for breakfast.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, here's one. The kid who died, right? And he's being reborn. He had the scar. And she's like, oh, I remember the scar. I saw it for like 30 seconds and he died for me, but I remember him. That guy, yeah. Why the hell did he have a horn?
Why not? To differentiate themselves.
None of the other ones had horns. No one else. He had the scar. Did he need the horn and the scar?
Yeah, he's super special.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, she brought him back to life and sent the world in total and utter chaos, get ready to destroy the very fabric of reality for both them and the humans. But she did it for love. She did it for love. She did it for love.
Yeah. Betray one's everything for love.
Sure. Why not? I mean, also, can I just say how weird it was at the beginning when homeboy rubbed a dolphin bait all over himself so that way dolphins can eat it off him?
No, that was normal.
Yeah, no, I thought that was weird. I thought it was weird. Yeah, he's like, oh, look, I throw the dolphin bait. And then he tells his little sister, oh, check this out. Rub it all over me. All right, cool. Jumps in the water, swims down there. Ah. Yeah, no, that's totally normal. That's totally normal. I would totally expect a dolphin to just eat slathered mucus off of me like no problem.
Wonderful. Delicious.
Magic.
Silky smooth skin afterwards. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah,
and the other thing, right? Hang on. The other thing is, she had a time limit of 7 days, but apparently it's like 7-ish days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like I felt like she was like on the 7th day. They even talked about it on the 7th day. You need to be back here. You need to really kind of come back and be like, oh, be here within the hours of 10 and 9, run on Rick time. So that way it's between 10 and 9 within 24-hour periods for the 7th day.
Don't know what you're talking about.
There
were some odd rules. I'll give you that. But don't talk to humans seems pretty spot on,
Well, here's the thing, right? They said don't talk or interact, stay away from humans, right? But at the same time, she interacted, touched, took back an object from the humans.
To get to and from.
Well, she never went back. And the gateway still had to be open.
It's just one of those things. I'm trying to make sense of it, and it's not.
So, I mean, the confusion that I have is like, it's not the story, like the base story I feel was pretty laid out, pretty flat. It's a romance story, pure and simple. She's very much in love after falling in love with a guy. Love. And even though they never carried on a conversation, the monologue obviously is her older because she even says that. She references herself. I don't know, man. I mean,
she ends up giving up half her life for an animal.
Right.
Well, not necessarily just any animal, but
a human soul.
Yeah, a reincarnated human.
Right, which,
and then
makes me think,
Okay.
like, how long do they actually live for?
Forever.
They don't live forever. You know they don't live forever.
Close enough. No. They probably live for 2 or 3 millennia, but time might be different for them, you know?
I guess. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
yeah. It was confusing.
Unlike this movie, I feel like this episode's going to be pretty short simply because it was just like
there's not a lot of content. Lots of visuals, but not the story was rather lackluster.
It was. Definitely did set it up though for a possible second movie.
Oh yeah.
Hardcore.
Hardcore parkour.
Parkour. But we'll let you all figure that out. Just watch the after credit scene. That's all I'm gonna say. Well,
I mean, it's important. There is an after credit scene that you need to know about.
Yes.
Or this would be the mid roll credit scene, something like that.
Yeah. After the fancy credits.
Yeah.
All right. So on a scale of up to 10, sir, how would you rate this movie?
Well, as tradition dictates, my score's first, and I will go with. I'm going to go with a. It's not good enough to be 7, so I'm going to give it a 6.
You're going to give it a 6?
I'm going to give it a 6. Yeah, I was really trying to give it a 7, really trying, but the points you brought up, not a 7. And you?
I'm going to give it a 4. For all the points that I brought up, I'm giving it a 4.
Fair enough.
I watched it twice too. I was like, well, maybe I just missed something in translation or whatever, and it's like, it just did not. It did not make it better for me. So
yeah.
All right. Well, next week we're going to be talking about a series, and it is a recommendation. And I'm trying to buy time because I don't remember who recommended. Don't hate me, please. I'm sorry. It is not on purpose. I promise.
Also, do you think we're gonna ever hit Category Circus?
What?
There's an anime, Category Circus. I want to say it is. I could be wrong. My roommate really likes it, and he goes, "We should totally watch it. It has everything and anything that he thinks I would like."
Okay. I don't know. I have never heard of it, and I would have to, so I don't know why you're asking me. It's like, do you everything? I don't know. I mean, one hasn't been recommended. You haven't chosen it. I haven't chosen it. So as far as,
true,
as it becoming up,
it's a 7 out of 10 on my anime list. It's
good for it, but that's not what we're watching. We're watching Horimiya from CJ. Okay, yes, that's what we're watching. So that's what we're watching next week. If you feel like we got something right, something wrong, did too much justice, not enough justice, just plain old being ignorant, which is 100% possible. I know that, especially for me, it is 100% possible. Feel free to reach out to us. All our contact information and everything like that is available online at featuredanimepodcast.com. If you want to check us out and, hear our pre and post content that we usually do, patreon.com/featuredanimepodcast, $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll reincarnate later.